Hello and welcome back to Morgan's Lazy Sunday Afternoon live stream. I'm so sorry I missed last week, but I was busy being not lazy. If you check out my video blog from this week, I'm talking about all the things I did at Balticon 55. But yeah, so I'm back and I've got stuff to do, and I'm starting to think about writing ideas again after taking 2 months off from doing nothing, including that beta read I've had open for 2 months. So today I have Doc with me. Hello, Doc. Say hi to people.
Hello, folks. I'm Doc Coleman. I'm a steampunk author. I'm also a voice talent, and I'm currently working on the second in my Adventures of Crackle and Bang series. And you can find me by searching for Doc Coleman Steampunk.
Nice. Did you draft book 3 yet?
I actually started writing book 3 while I was I started writing book 3 when I was kind of between doing the first draft of book 1 and doing the first round of edits.
Mm-hmm.
So I can check. I think I've got a fair chunk of it done.
Okay. Because I knew you were flirting with writing it, and I couldn't remember if you drafted it and then gone back to the previous one or not.
Yeah, it was something. Scrivener coming up, throwing all the windows that I don't want in front of the window I do want.
Of course.
But actually, what have I got? I've got over 30,000 words in the third book already. So I'm a third of the way through the third book, and I think that was my nano project that I did. Okay. That was my nano project last November before going back and doing the edits on the second book.
That makes sense. Yeah, I know. Personally, the current book that I am actively querying. Agent, please, love my book. Mm-hmm. I drafted a rough draft of a potential sequel, and I haven't touched it because I don't know what the final first book's going to look like, but knowing things I may want to do means that I can set them up properly in book before.
Yeah.
So I know no plan or draft, survives the first encounter with the editor, but
yeah, and it's a little different when you're doing an episodic series rather than when you're telling a whole story over a series.
Yeah.
Because I just have to keep track of what happens to the main characters who move from book to book, because everything else changes.
Right, and you're changing settings, which definitely helps.
I'm always introducing new characters in a new book. There are hooks back to things that have already happened, but those have to be as minimal as possible because we had a whole new setting opening up.
I'm hearing you're not pulling a Supernatural and forgetting everything that happened in season 3 by season 7.
Oh, hell no.
So I have feels. I'm like, do you remember the time you spent a season feeling like guilty about this thing that has never come up since then?
Nah, I use all the previous books as source material. So
Right. So I'm thrilled to have Doc here with me, but I was kind of hoping Sako would make it today, but she has friends because we can over visiting, because that's the thing that can happen in the post-vax world. Because I got an email on Thursday night saying, hey, you were a guest at Imaginarium last year when it was virtual. We still have slots open. Were you interested in coming back? Mm-hmm. And I filled out the form and got accepted at 5 p.m. the next day.
Nice.
And then I was like, oh, that's a 9-hour car trip. Can I carpool with somebody else? Is anybody else interested in going? And Sako's like, And so I sent her the panelist link to see if she can get in that way, or if she's just going to come and see the panels and stuff. But yeah, so very excited. Although a little bit of a because it's the 9th through 11th of July.
Yeah.
And I found out
to prepare
that I was getting on the schedule 4 days ago. 4 days ago. Andy says she can move my plant in the audience. Excellent. So yeah, I don't know what my schedule is yet. So we'll find out if we're driving all Thursday night or coming in at a sedate time on Friday, depending, etc. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting. Road trip, super excited. I usually, even when I go with other people to conventions, I end up rarely seeing any of them because I love hitting all the panels. Mm-hmm. And that is one trouble with working a convention is I can't watch the panels, especially when it's virtual and I'm in charge of social media. Because even if I'm in a panel, I have my other windows open and they're distracting me and I can't focus enough to take notes. Although I did get the notes from your one panel on incorporating critique, I think, with DA because she didn't give record permissions.
Right. She wasn't willing to have the panel recorded. Yeah.
Which is totally fine and totally acceptable, but definitely a priority to see the non-recorded panels.
Yeah.
So I have a question, and I asked this last year, and I think I know what I'm going to do, but I went to Balticon, and most of my blog happens to be me sharing notes from panels I've attended in like a concise, here are the bullet takeaways, here are some of, the books that were suggested, etc. I did not take notes during the convention. B, they're all up online so you can see the entire panel. Should I continue to do my summary of the panels? Or should I have other content on my blog?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Audience, chime in. Doc, any thoughts?
Yeah, audience, go ahead and chime in, but I'll start the conversation off with the idea that you doing your summaries is definitely a value add.
Okay.
Because, especially if you do the summary and then you say, and if you want to see all of it, here's the link to the actual video. Because watching that video is going to take an hour of somebody's time, while reading your summary or even watching you do the summary on the video blog, it's going to be considerably less.
Yeah, they're usually 5 to 15 minutes on a long one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I was leaning that way, if only so I have content. But yeah,
so you have regular content while sprinkling in other things.
Exactly. Hi, who's this again? I forget names.
This is Trill.
Trill, hi. Yeah.
She's a Maine Coon. She has decided she needs some attention.
Okay.
And then my stomach is a good place to stay.
I should pop over to the audience and say hello. We have an Andy. Hello. We have an Ward. Hello and welcome. So good to see y'all. It sounds like Andy is in my same boat. He's planning on watching so many videos after Balticon because he was in a signal dead zone rather than failure to multitask, which, I accept I'm not great at multitasking. But I am super excited for paneling at a convention. I'm not working, so I can attend panels again because I like taking notes. I like, so although I have attended so many panels at this point, a lot of times I try not to turn into that, but I have a suggestion that would work too in the audience.
See, that's why I like to be on panels, because I get to talk. I don't have to feel guilty about being the person talking up from the audience.
Right. So Andy said that Sako could be my plant in the audience. I want to share a story about me being an audience plant during Balticon. So my dad had his debut novel come out, and my dad likes to hear himself talk more than I do. And he very often misses social cues if maybe it's somebody else's turn to talk and maybe he should listen when. Anyway, so my dad was having his book launch and he's just talking away when I pop in. And I was like, hey, Mark, could you tell us about your story? And then 10 minutes later, Hey, Mark, that's a lot of great, amazing world building. Could you tell us about your characters and the plot? And like 10 minutes later, hey, Mark, were you going to read an excerpt? And he thanked me for cat herding him and giving the event structure. So I make an excellent plant, although I can do it a little less obviously. It was my dad. He was fine with me being blatant, so that was okay. But when you would go, if you ever have the opportunity to go to a panel, either virtual or in person, and they're talking and they open up to Q&A and the panel just wasn't quite what you were expecting, I love asking the question that answers the question of the whole reason I went to the panel. Hey, I thought this panel was going to be about this, so I will ask the question I expected to get answered. And that's a great way to get bonus content, but also the material that you were hoping to get out of the panel, the event. So it looks like Andy agrees with Doc, the TV guide version of the content.
Yep.
And everyone cheers for Kitty. All hail.
Overlords.
Right. So let's see. Ward was editing her Were Cow second short, and the last line of the previous Were Cow short was, I didn't want to have a human. I liked being a cow. And the last line of the second one will be, I didn't want to be a princess. I like being a maid.
Okay.
I like it. They're very cute. They're super fun. So it sounds like is working on her Were Cow shorts. What are you working on today, Doc?
Honestly, today has been part of a whole weekend of taking things easy because I tweaked my knee a little earlier. So what I'm probably going to be working on is placing a grocery order and getting them in.
I mean, it's Sunday. That's when Doc places grocery orders, right?
Try to do it on Saturday, but it doesn't always work. Saturday was
I hear that one. Yeah. I am going to be doing two things at once because people scheduled a meeting at 5 p.m. for me.
That was brilliant.
Right? I was not excited about it. I definitely voted for a later slot, but there are other people, who might need to go to bed early for early meetings and stuff and things. So it is what it is. So if you see me talking during the sprints, that's because I'm in another meeting, but this is where I want to be, not there. Trust me. Do not want to be in that meeting. I mean, hopefully it'll be quick. I hope it's quick, but it had one agenda item, and yet people have brought up 3 other things that I really hope we don't cover because people are special like that.
But it's not about your stuff. It's about my stuff.
Right. So popping into the comments again, Andy told us about his current project. If he was a Mass Effect character, when you talked with me, I'd say, hey, Shepard, I'm busy with these edits, calibrations. So the novel is still in progress. And hello, Better Days Zellers, and welcome. Thanks for coming to the Sprint live stream, lazy Sunday afternoon
Thingy.
Right? So just before we kicked off, I was telling Doc that I think my 2 months off from writing have been fruitful. Just last night, as I was drifting off to sleep, I got a new story idea. Okay, let's be serious. I got a new world idea.
Also good.
So I enjoy stories with fresh takes, but a lot of fresh takes end up having the feel of I'm doing a fresh take for the sake of having a fresh take, not so much that they want to bring something new to the table, but sometimes it feels like they're doing it just to bring something new to the table, not because they're totally into the idea. Have you read books like that?
It's kind of it's less like you've come up with something new and more like you want to take something old and do a spin on it.
Right. And I enjoy retold fairy tales, but there's only so many ways you can tell it, and I'm very picky about which ones I enjoy these days. You can't just phone it home by saying, oh, we changed this one thing and it's a different story now, or it's totally unique take on this story. No, I've seen 3 variations on this exact, concept before. So hopefully this is not one of those, but anyway, dragons. Obviously, Morgans love dragons. Dragons have hordes. My thought was, what if people who have a hoard of something, be it gold, books, cats, what have you, if they love and grow their hoard big enough, they turn into dragons. First, they turn into dragons in their dreams, and then while they're sleeping, and then while they're awake, and then they can start to control it.
Okay.
As long as they have their hoard, they have the power of becoming a dragon that's, modified for whatever their hoard is.
I am somewhat disturbed by the concept that billionaires turn into dragons.
They have to love what they have and want to collect it. Mm-hmm. A lot of billionaires, their hoards are more for the power and what the money can do rather than for the love of the money itself.
So they're not building the Scrooge McDuck pool and going for swims in it because they love it.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So you have to have, some sort of positive emotional attachment rather than using it as a tool. So like having it makes you happy and fuzzy inside. Maybe you're a tea hoarder. I mean, I know tea hoarders. But it can't be something that doesn't last. Like recipes, yes. Good meals, no, because they have such a short-term lifespan. I mean, yeah, you can put it in the freezer, but
how does this work with old librarians? Because librarians don't necessarily own their books, but they do get very possessive about the collections in their library.
That's a very good question. I think as long as they have some sort of control over the hoard, that they might.
Yeah, so that you get all kinds of fun things when you've got library dragons.
Right, and I was thinking about dragons who hoard things that may or may not be tangible, like stories about how other dragons turned into dragons. Like if you collect all the stories, kind of thing. So I don't know. No. It's a concept. It's a world. It's gonna percolate. I'm not really sure what the story is, but you know me. I love me some world building, and
sounds like a fun space to play in for a bit.
Right, exactly. And I was thinking about the ways in which people write fantastic worlds and where the magic comes from. Is it inherent in them? Do they have to work really hard? And can anybody become one? And so I wanted it to be, anyone can become one, but it comes from within of, but an unhealthy obsession, I don't know where the line between unhealthy and true appreciation is and where that gets fuzzy. But that might be what the story is exploring.
No, I was just thinking that in a lot of different stories, and I'll admit I'm partially thinking of The Magicians.
Right.
Is that magic either comes from pain or from love.
Right.
But there's also got to be a strong desire to change the world. That causes things to happen.
Yeah, intent and will tends to be pretty high. But I didn't necessarily want that in this. I don't know. So
it's your world. Make it what you want.
Yeah. I want people to be surprised when they wake up a dragon. Mm-hmm. It's like I was dreaming of it, but maybe that's just because I know about the myth, and so I'm dreaming I'm becoming a dragon. Mm. How do you know it? And then you wake up and there's the indention of, something larger and squigglier than you in the bed.
Or the legs of the bed have collapsed.
And what happens when you wake up and your spouse is now a dragon?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was also contemplating exploring, stories of older characters rather than young teen will save the world.
Right.
Maybe it's not. Maybe, the kids have gone off to school and they have all their things and their stuff and everything just the right way. And
no, that's actually really great for experience for playing with older characters, because it's a power that builds up over time. You don't come into your power until you're very old, and you've been
typically
consciously or unconsciously building toward it for a while.
Exactly. So yeah. And then, you get the judgy people about, wait, you're hoarding what? And about how that's not a real, hoard, and how, weapons is the real hoard.
Well, it's this society of dragons, so.
So yeah, it was just a notion, and I liked it, and so I'm rolling it around in the back of my head, and it's nice to want to write again. Although the story is definitely not ready for me to write it, because that's as far as I've gotten.
Are you looking at this as a modern fantasy or something else?
I'm still working on setting.
Okay.
Still working on setting, still working on plot. Right now I just have the world's concept. So
start with how the world works and you work out the ramifications from there.
Exactly. So I mean, I could do short stories at any era.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially since once you become a dragon, theoretically, you have the potential to become really old.
Yeah. I was definitely keeping the longevity of dragons in there.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh Lord, so, yeah. I just have this image of a modern university where the head librarian turned into a dragon when the college was first formed, and is still going on.
Right. And God save anybody who tries to take something from the hoard. If you don't return that book, the fine may not be something you want to deal with. So, how is your current story coming along?
I'm still working on cleaning up some notes, and honestly, I just changed jobs. I've got a new day job. And the past 2 weeks have been kind of exhausting on it. And I'm having to drive back into the office and do the daily commute thing, which definitely sucks. But
I'm going back into the office too, although I have a 10-minute commute.
I have an hour-long commute. Actually, as light as the traffic is right now, it's only like 45 minutes, but it's still...
Yeah.
It's still pain, especially when you've got damaged limbs. But
yeah.
So unfortunately, I did some research. I've got some material that I need to work into it, but I haven't had a lot of energy lately to work into it. And I still need to reach out for some sensitivity readers, and I've got some leads. I just need to follow up on them.
Okay. I started on a new project at work that requires me going into the office. And I missed my first shift because I started on it. I got trained on it a week ago, and then I was out Thursday, Friday, and then obviously Monday and Tuesday. And so I come back Wednesday and I find out I've missed my shift. Why? Because the shift schedule came out on Friday on a spreadsheet I don't have access to. And my first shift was at 5 a.m.
Don't these people know you?
I'm like, why would you schedule someone at 5 a.m. for their first? It's because I'm low man on the totem pole. These people have been working on the project for 8-9 months. We just finished. They had a major deadline over Memorial Day weekend, And so it was my turn to have a 5 a.m. shift, and that was totally fine. But she didn't realize I didn't have access to the spreadsheets, and yeah. So nobody was mad at me. They're like,
That's good.
Totally our bad. We should have, made sure that you found out about it. That was very silly of us. We just called in one of the local people and they popped over. So the next day I had a 5 a.m. shift, and then I had a 5 p.m. shift on Friday night because new person on the team gets the shitty shift. So Friday night, I was from 5 to 11. And because the deadline was last week, we no longer have weekend shifts. So I didn't have to do any weekend shifts at all.
Okay.
And starting Monday, it's an 8 to 2 shift and a 2 to 8 shift, only 2 shifts a day.
Okay.
So there's still 6-hour shifts, but the issue is we have one set of the hardware we need to run the tests on. And so it's a very, there's one resource, and so everybody needs shared time on it.
So everybody has to go to the resource.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I have to go into the office to use the hardware. But I'm on a team of, there's always 2 people on shift. So even though I'm still learning, I have somebody there with me who can help out with anything. And the 5 evening shift got free dinner.
No, well, that's not bad. No.
So it sounds worse than it was. It wasn't half bad, although my sleep schedule's totally doesn't know what's happening. But yeah, Andy was like 10-minute commute. I got the job I'm in Manassas, and I got the job on purpose because it was close to my sister and the housing costs were reasonable. And so I got the job, and then I moved nearby on purpose. So that was part of the reason I took this job, is so I could, afford a house for what you can get a 1-bedroom apartment for further in. So yeah. Andy says his office is still remote until Labor Day, and that's when their final decision will be made. We are still remote until July, and then we don't have enough office space for all of the employees. So I think it's kind of, obviously manufacturing side and stuff like that have been going in. But for software and stuff, some of us are full remote, some of us are part-time, and some of us will come in as needed. And some are, I would love to be in the office. I have kids at home. I can't concentrate. Please let me out of the house.
Yeah. I have a friend whose company went to full remote work because they downsized their office so that they just have like a couple offices for managers and a working space for the person who has got to manage the mail and take the phone calls, and a little extra space for a conference, and to have a place for new hires to come in, get their equipment, test it out, and then take it home and work from home forever after.
Nice. That's pretty spiffy. Well, my silly 5 p.m. meeting is coming up, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started with a 20-minute. And if I can't come back, Doc, you can run the in between.
I can certainly try. I just can't turn off the alarm.
I can do that on my side, obviously. So I'm going to share screen. I'm going to share audio. I am going to share one particular Chrome tab. And please ignore me talking to myself. I swear I'm on a meeting. Not that would stop me from talking to myself, but. Well, have a good sprint in 3, 2, 1. Let's do this. And we're back.
Yep. How's your meeting going?
It's I think we're about to vote, so they're reading it out loud. I have closed captioning, so I can kind of keep an eye on that. Okay. So,
all right.
So, how was your sprint?
I got my groceries tallied up and I got them ordered. So somewhere before 7 o'clock, I will have food delivered. Although, we'll see how long they take it out. Sometimes somebody gets right on it, and it's like next thing I know, they're knocking at my door. And sometimes it's like, did they forget? But at least with Instacart, I don't have to go battle the shopping aisles on my own.
Yeah, especially since you're trying to stay off that knee this weekend. Have you considered delegating your bum knee to a politician of your choice?
I would love to hear how that works. I would definitely like to be able to send some of my bodily ailments off to other people that deserve it so much more than I do.
Delegation on its finest.
Yes.
So yeah.
All right. So everybody else, please join in the comments and let us know how your sprint went. Definitely. What did you get accomplished? What did you do instead of accomplishing something?
I attended a meeting and started to update Balticon 55 documents for Balticon 56. And by update them, I mean I finally got them copied into the folder.
Okay, it's a start. Everything's a start.
Right?
Yeah. Now you have to go in and change them all to say 56 instead of 55.
Well, yes, but also the guests of honor have changed and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a hybrid convention, which means something totally different than our virtual convention. So.
Yep. That would be very interesting to see. I know, as someone with mobility issues and seeing as my wife often has energy fluctuation issues, I would feel a lot better that if she goes, that she can get more out of it by being able to say, I'll just attend this from the hotel room on the computer instead of trying to go.
Because of staffing and equipment concerns, I believe the current thought is having 1 or 2 rooms of panels be delegated for both, and then the rest be for in person, depending. So,
don't know.
But I mean, we have limited staffing, and it takes a lot of people to do both a virtual and an online convention, and so.
And when we're in person, we run so many more panels at the same time, and there's only so much equipment to go around.
Exactly. So yeah.
All right. So shall we jump into the chat?
Yeah, sure.
Where did we leave off?
I see Kelly joined in. Hello, Kelly. MM Ward got 299 words done. Nice, solid progress right there. And Andy dug into the scene. He's trying to make the wraith in the office more disgusting and terrifying.
As you do.
As one does.
I was to say, I see the phrase "the wraith in the office," and I have to wonder: so is this a coworker or a spiritual manifestation?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, if I was going to haunt somewhere, I'd hate to be stuck at work.
Seriously. Although, as I recall, one of the Ghostbusters movies definitely had a ghost in the library. We keep coming back to libraries. I sense it.
Definitely. Andy said in book spiritual manifestation based on a former boss.
So both.
I guess if you're being cursed, haunting your workplace makes sense, you know.
Lord knows that we're all cursed by bad bosses.
I've been really fortunate for the most part. Sometimes upper management isn't as awesome, but you know, and sometimes who I'm working with is bad at delegation. and maybe setting me up for success. But that's more because they're focused on what they need to do and very often not as experienced with helping set others up for success. We have a Lizzie. Hello and welcome. We're happy you swung by. I'm doing double duty right now, so.
Morgan's in a meeting while she's talking with us. But,
right. So
yeah,
I'm probably going to get back to the meeting because we're about to vote. So let me know when you're ready for another sprint and I can set that up. Did we want to? Oh, I think I successfully voted.
I think you just voted.
I was reading closed captioning and I agreed with the wording. It's basically their policy on opening back up to in-person events. So it's nothing very critical. I mean, the wording is a little nitpicky, but we can nitpick anything to death. We are skilled.
And it looks like MM Lord is ready for another sprint.
Sure. Ooh, Lizzie's birthday is next Sunday. That's awesome.
Well, happy birthday in case you don't have time to stop by next Sunday.
Right.
Hope it's a good one.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. Let's go ahead and start the sprint in 3, 2, 1. Boom. Well, I don't know why the music didn't play. Was it playing for you?
It played for me. I heard it.
Oh. Okay, I turned off my... Give me a second. There we go. Say something.
Somehow saying the music played for me just doesn't sound right in this context.
There we go. I thought turning down my Zoom audio all the way would make it so Zoom was turned down, but instead it turned it down for all the speakers. So how was your sprint?
I had a productive sprint.
Nice.
One of the things about having to go into the office all the time is because I can't exactly just run down to the cafeteria. I have to bring my lunch in. Mm-hmm. So I spent this sprint doing a bunch of hand wash dishes and getting dishpan hands, cleaning up my my lunch containers. So I'm ready for the next week.
See, that's why I try not to have any regularly used dishes that are not dishwasher safe.
We've got, I just use plastic containers, but they've changed something in the dishwasher soap so that instead of rinsing off, it clings to the plastic now.
Did you add the rinse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't know what it is. We think they've either changed the formula or there's something different with the rinse, but yeah.
I'm sorry. That's frustrating.
Yeah. But hey, it gets done. I've got more than enough containers that if I wash them all at once, I can go almost 2 weeks. So
nice. I'm glad to hear that. So yeah, that's how mine is. That is one thing about going into my current office is they didn't have freezer space. They just had a large fridge for employees. And my default lunch is pre-cooked frozen chicken and a bag of mixed veggies, and having to bring it every day was annoying. But then they moved me to another building, and that building has a regular fridge freezer combo.
Right.
So that way I bring my lunch once a week, pour it into the containers, wash dishes, and that way I don't forget stuff. So yeah. If you're on my Facebook, you may have noticed I updated my website this weekend.
Yep.
I was very excited. After Balticon, our con chair reached out to me and was talking about, ways of modernizing the website for the event. And I was like, my website probably looks like so 2015, maybe 2018. Maybe I should update it. Everybody's got the little panels and stuff like that and whatever. And I mean, when I share a link, it's going to share the whole link page with the full text, but the home page doesn't necessarily need that. And so I'm really happy with how it turned out. I've opened it like 12 times in different browsers and on my phone. And
yeah, I've looked at it on my phone and on my iPad, and it looks nice. I haven't actually had a chance to look at it on the computer yet, but I definitely love the color that you chose for your font.
Thank you. I have, some logo stuff with like the dark red and the soft yellow, but I've also traditionally had like a blue-gray kind of feel for it. So I tried to get some color schemes that were reminiscent of things I already had, but not necessarily clashy. And one of the reasons I picked, I'm on WordPress. One of the reasons I picked the theme I did is because it didn't require me to redo all my featured images because the proportions were acceptable for the layout. But yeah. One of the reasons I really like using WordPress is that it does have the, adjustability and works well on both mobile and computer designs.
Yeah.
Found out my dad's website looks great on mobile because the pictures are small enough they don't get pixelated, and the contrast is pretty decent, even if I'm not a huge fan of the mint green he uses.
Yeah, that is a pretty bad green.
Yeah. So I'm so proud of my dad and his first book, but I would change his website.
Yeah,
I would change his book cover. I have feels.
Welcome to the Lime Sherbet page.
Right? Yeah. Totally hand coded with tables.
Sometimes tables work.
I mean, as I said, it worked fine on mobile, okay, but yeah, it was a little much. So
yeah, I probably need to rebuild my websites. I've got a couple of them which are still running on an outdated theme because when I went to go and upgrade to the new theme, the new theme didn't render right. So it's like, okay, I need to kind of abandon this theme altogether and do something new. But
yeah,
I liked the design. I don't really want to do a massive redesign, but I'm probably gonna.
I hear that. I mean, there's a reason we put our websites the way we do.
Yeah, especially when I have 4 websites.
Yeah. For all you writers out there who don't have a website, I do suggest getting one, and I do suggest naming it after yourself and not your book, because you probably have more than one story in you.
Yeah, you should definitely get the website named after yourself. If you want to do websites named after a book or a series, that's an option, but you're increasing your overhead over time.
Yeah.
And part of it really depends on how you want your branding to fall out. But.
Right. So yeah. And it's just, a homepage where they can contact you and find links to all your books to buy. Just a landing page is all you need. I only have a website because I couldn't leave it at just a landing page and wanted to have a little content on it. And here I am 6-7 years later, blogging weekly, 3 times a week now. Well, blogging once a week, author spotlight once a week, and my weekly roundup of all the other places with the video blog and the podcast and the I have a lot. Yay, Kelly took a look. Thank you. I know you go to my website regularly, so you actually knew what it used to look like. So I did want to hear back from people because I forgot to take a before picture. Womp womp, sad trombone. I know, right? It was rough. But yeah, so yeah, but since I keep oogling my own website, I'm going to take that as a sign that I'm happy with it. Ogling. Yeah, I never say that word. Right. Ogling. But it's that sounds like it should be something related to ogres.
Well, actually, when you consider that ogling was basically looking lustily at something that was desirable, that sounds very ogreish. Well, oogling sounds more like you were Googling, but you left off the G, and now God knows what you're getting in the search engine.
I'm just going to link drop here, https Morgan Hazelwood.com. Yeah. So getting a domain costs $18 a year, and that's how you get your name. And then you can just map it. Any of the free website creation places, Wix, or I think WordPress still has a free option, should let you just be a field to fill out what is your linked one, and you put it in there, and you might need to verify with an email. But it's very easy to have a website builder and link it to a web address.
And one of the advantages of WordPress is that you don't have to code it all yourself. There are lots of other people who do know how to code and understand WordPress, and they build plugins for it, and you can mix and match plugins.
You have to have the paid version to have the plugins. I do not. But I like to say I have been a website designer, and I don't want to deal with that when I'm at home working on my writing. My writing time is for writing, and I don't want to futz with my website, so I just use WordPress.
The free version has plenty of plugins, but the paid version has a whole lot more. And that is both good and bad, because some of those are supported and some of them are just out there for years. And nobody's taken them down yet.
So some of the plugins are, somebody's home project, and when they stop updating it, it stops working.
Yeah.
So.
And it's always disappointing when you get used to a plugin that works really well, and then they update WordPress and it's not compatible, and you find out that the person stopped supporting it 5 years ago.
Yeah. So it's a thing. It happens, but maybe if they stop supporting it after 5 years, maybe it's time for you to revamp your website.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you do want to look fresh. You do want to look, like you didn't create it in Notepad 15 years ago.
Or have Word generate your website.
Oh, right. It does that, doesn't it?
It does that, yes.
So pagination is your friend if you scroll too much without like a load more button. I mean, yeah, Facebook does it, but yeah, I like pagination.
Yeah, Facebook uses it as an opportunity to get more ads in front of you. But,
who doesn't want more ads? I did end up paying for my WordPress account because they put a text ad on my webpage that looks so cheap. And I'm like, if you're going to put ads on my site, I want better quality ads. So I paid up just so I wouldn't have bad looking ads on my site.
yeah.
So there is nothing wrong with Notepad.
There are certainly good uses for Notepad.
I much prefer Atom. Atom is a great low impact for code. It spell check. It checks your syntax. It knows what language you're in, and it's if you highlight a bunch of text, you can hit tab and it indents the whole section, and it's got some handy stuff in it.
So I've seen some conversation in the chat based on what we're talking about, but I'm not seeing anyone saying how they did on their sprint.
No.
You got to put it in the chat, people, so we can read it.
Right.
I know we lost Lizzie, who had to go off to dinner, and Ward had to go off to do some chores because the storm was coming in.
Yeah.
Glad to see Kelly has joined us because I think Kelly joined right at the beginning of the last sprint.
All right. Okay. So we heard from Andy. He's almost still working on it and almost done cleaning up this chapter, and then he's gonna pop off for dinner. I know he usually pops off closer to 6 than 6:30. So yeah. I think I got Kelly's thumbs up for Adam, but
Mm-hmm.
Oh goodness. Well, do we want to try and get one more sprint in before 6:30?
Probably a good idea.
Okay. Oh, Kelly
go
ahead.
Oh, nice job, Kelly, with 164 words. I was just going to say, my grocery shopping is going apace. I might end up having to load in groceries when we get back from the sprint.
Nice. Okay. Oh, well, I'm adding it to the sprint, and let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Boom. And we're back. Oh, hi. I see Heather swung by while I finished my meeting and I started actually doing something productive. I sent out an email I got feedback on during this week that I meant to send out last week, and I am creating track list playlists for all the Balticon content, so you can find the literary track and the science track.
Nice.
And that sort of thing. So, housekeeping, but useful housekeeping. No groceries?
The groceries are out for delivery. In fact, the person has just followed the GPS directions into a corner of the neighborhood that is not near our house, because I forgot to tell them that the GPS will lie to them.
Nice.
Although it looks like they got the message I just sent and they're coming back. But
nice.
I managed to be productive in other ways. I mixed up kibble for our cats because they were out of kibble, and did a couple more miscellaneous. Yeah, well, they had kibble upstairs. They were out of kibble downstairs.
Are you ashamed of yourself?
No, not at all. They eat at a tremendous rate. It's ridiculous. All right. I'm going to turn my camera off for a little bit because my wife is coming down. She doesn't like being on camera, but I'm
okay. Sure. No, that's fine. So, yeah. So I see that Heather said she really wanted to watch the Balticon content. You just go to youtube.com/Baltimore Sci-Fi. Let me just pop that in here because it's my channel. I can share links. Baltimore Sci-Fi. There we go. So yeah, there's a lot of great content and I can't wait to watch some myself, but I just haven't quite gotten to it yet. I've almost recovered from the actual convention. I'm getting there, definitely getting there. So, but I mean, we have 144 hours of content up online. So, I mean, there's a lot out there. We did have more programming than was recorded, but a lot of authors are a little wary of having recordings or readings recorded because of audio rights and that sort of thing. So I know that. And on our science track, a couple of the topics are just so cutting edge that material is not able to be recorded because of export control licenses and stuff like that. So yeah, but definitely a lot of amazing panels and people. And when we're in person, there's even more content. So it's even harder to figure out what to attend. So at least, when you're attending from home, you can grab lunch while listening in. But yeah, so it was pretty awesome, and I could have done a better job as social media, and I hope to do better next year. But I'm still learning. I've never done this. I did this, last year, but I was a last minute addition, so I'm still sorting out what I'm doing and how to do it and all that fun, happy stuff. So, well, we are at 5 of the half hour, so I might just end soon. I'm waiting for Doc to come back so he can say goodbye. But let me know how your sprint was. What did y'all get done? So I saw Andy finish his chapter before he headed off to dinner, and Heather just hopped on, so probably didn't have time to work on anything too much. Lizzie was working on a creative essay in her journal. So lots of great content and productivity.
Hey, we have groceries.
Yeah.
Now we just have to put them away.
Right. Did you want to give your outro so I can let you go do that?
Hi, folks. I'm Doc Coleman. Happy to be here, helping Morgan out with her live stream. I write steampunk comedy adventure, and you can find all my stuff just by putting Doc Coleman Steampunk into your favorite search engine. That'll find my webpage, .coleman.com. It'll find my Amazon author page and links to all my books.
Sweet. So, and I will add them in the links below. I just hadn't updated that yet because I was in 2 meetings at once because that's how I roll. So I see Kelly managed to progress his characters along, so that's awesome. And Heather said that she has a feeling her convention will be in person this year, and they're getting the panels finalized.
Good for you. I'm not doing any in-person venues this year. I'm going to do one signing at the Maryland Renaissance Festival in the fall, and that's going to kind of decide things. But I'm looking for virtual opportunities right now.
Yeah, I understand that one. Imaginarium is actually both, but I don't know how many virtual slots they have left or not. I don't know. I got the email. I filled it out. So I'm going to do a road trip with Sako. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. I have a month to panic and apparently revamp my website because that's how I roll.
It's your panic reaction, right?
Right? Exactly. So thank you all for joining. As you Morgan, this is my channel. I write fantasy and space fantasy, which might be sci-fi. And you can find me everywhere as Morgan Hazelwood, except Twitter, where I'm Morgan Hazelwood, because someone has been camping on that Twitter account, not using it for 11 years. But yeah, check me out, say hi, and I should be back again next week with more writing tips and writerly musings. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.